Welcome back here on Coastal Daybreak here on the talk station, FM 107 and AM 1240. There was a little doubt that we were going to book this next guest. When we saw the title of this book coming out, said, I wish he had come with instructions, The Woman's Guide to a Man's Brain. Mike Bechtle joins us now. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. Great to be with you.
It's good to have you with us. And are you out in Arizona today?
I'm in California.
In California?
So yeah, I haven't even had my coffee yet. So.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks for getting up early with us. Well, Mandy, our producer here, is taking her relationship to a new level. So this is becoming a more and more important idea for her to understand that men and women are wired differently, correct?
That's true. And it's a biological thing that there's differences between men and women. We try and have equality, and that's so valuable. But even the way the brain is made, it's totally different.
You mean
and
she
that
can't
impacts
fix
everything
it?
we do.
She can't fix it? Is that
Well, she can try, but she might be a little frustrated.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's tell us a little bit about how you organize this book and how people are reading it.
You know, it's interesting because when I first started looking at this, it was based on some of the other books that I've done. I wanted to do something along this line, and I started looking at what had been written, and almost everything was written by women about how to understand a man, how to deal with them. And I realized, my wife told me, she said, you know, you've never been inside a woman's brain, and a woman hasn't been in yours. And so I decided to put it together not as a book of advice, because my wife said you can't give advice to a woman on what she should do, so just take them on a tour. And so it's a tour guide of a man's brain. It's more of an understanding manual where I show where the high points are, where the neat lookouts are, where the toxic waste is, and just to walk with you on the journey to see what's going on.
I would imagine there's several pockets of toxic waste.
You know, that's a different program on a different station.
Yeah, that's really. All right, now I'm gonna deal with one part here. Is your chapter on unconditional like, the top 14 needs of men. Mandy, you taking notes?
I'm feverishly writing things down.
All right.
Okay.
We want you to communicate directly. Oh, okay. Now here's my little story about this. Is that sometimes I will hear, is your coffee getting cold? Or it says, or is this the right house for us? That passive aggressiveness, right?
You know, I think it's interesting that there's so many things that fit into that category. It comes back to that wiring again, because we tend to operate from whichever part of our brain is larger. It's just common sense. Men have more what's called gray matter, actually about 6 times more than women do, which means we
I'm going to hold on to that stat.
Oh, yep. Don't get too excited. It gets worse.
All right.
But when we operate from that part of our brain, that means we focus, we pay attention to one thing at a time. Women have more what's called white matter, which is the connective tissue that connects everything to everything. They have 10 times more white matter than we do, which means men tend to think about one thing at a time. Women tend to think about everything, which means my wife and I can have lunch with friends. She'll come home and describe almost sentence by sentence how the lunch went. She'll give me, sometimes I've told her it takes longer for her to describe the lunch than it did for her to have the lunch.
Right.
But she gives every detail. And then she asked me, she said, well, you had lunch with so-and-so. How did it go? I said, great. What did you talk about?
Stuff.
I don't do stuff, yeah. And it's because of the way we focus. And that's one of the biggest needs I think men have, is for women to just talk directly. So instead of a woman saying, you know what, I get so tired of cleaning up the kitchen, he thinks you're stating a fact. And he goes, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't occur to him that she's hinting at something when she needs to be more direct, just because of the way he's wired. And say, you know, I really get tired of cleaning the kitchen. Could you just help me tonight load the dishwasher? And he's usually glad to do it. He didn't know if she didn't say it, because it tends to be very direct.
Yeah. Oh, so true.
Yep. I've already figured that one out, kind of. So, okay.
All right, now
just suggesting, do you want to stop and get some ice cream is not the right thing to say. It's like, I want a Blizzard from Dairy Queen right now.
Right now.
Yes.
Right,
okay.
Because if you say, do you want to stop and get ice cream, he's thinking you're asking his opinion, and he says no.
That's right.
And then she's hurt, but he didn't mean to hurt. He just answered the question.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to go through all of the 14 points here, but a few more. We want you to be independent. This is the man speaking now. We want you to be independent.
I think it's men really respect women that are not totally dependent on them or anyone else. They have their own direction in life. They are their own person. And it brings a lot of respect from a man to know that she can be intact, that in independence. And I heard that over and over again because it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And they can build on that relationship if she has that sense of she's choosing how she runs her life.
Yeah. Now, again, the small and large things that go along with this, right? I mean, because here's another example. Saturday, I was doing some things around the house. My wife went to visit her sister, and then wanted to go have lunch. And I said, "Well, y'all decide where we're going to go have lunch." 3 hours later, they couldn't decide.
Yeah, and that's why a simple way to be able to do it is, I hate to say it, but it's what we do with our kids, to give options. It's like, instead of saying, where do you want to go, say, would you like to go to Panera or would you like to go to McDonald's? And give a couple of options. It just makes it much simpler for everyone.
Now, here's one a little bit more serious. Again, we're talking with Mike Bechtle. The book is called I Wish He Had Come with the Instructions, The Woman's Guide to a Man's Brain. And this one, it says, we don't want to cheat on you. And I think this one's important.
I think it's really important because there's so many stereotypes about men, that they don't have feelings, that they don't understand women, they don't care about it. But one of the big ones is that if they have a chance, they're always straying, they're looking other directions. And you know what? Men are wired to be captured by somebody else's, to capture their attention when they see someone. But we really want to be committed to our spouse. And we're not looking for opportunities. Yes, we will notice, but we're committed to you. We chose you, and we really have that inner desire. And I think that's part of it, too, is not to assume that because a man acts in a certain way, not to read into it too much. We tend to be pretty simple, and we tend to be pretty straightforward.
Simple, yep.
And I'm the one who reads into it too much.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, here, another example. My wife and I celebrated our 29th anniversary on Monday. So,
nice.
But if we're on the beach, my glasses better be very dark. So if I look at someone, I don't have to turn my head very much. You learn these things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Over time, you adapt. Because otherwise I'm going to get hit.
You know what? And what I've learned to do in that kind of a situation is to just be honest. It's where I've been able to say something like, okay, now she's really attractive. Not as attractive as you, and I picked you. But it's the reality of it.
Then the comeback is, you want her, don't you?
But you know what? In a healthy relationship, you can have that kind of dialogue.
Right. And as I said, on our anniversary, I said, one of the things that's important is that we laugh every day. And you've got to be able to laugh sometimes at your own foibles.
Yeah.
Well, no, often at your own foibles.
Well, you know what, and that's one of the things I discovered, because I talked to several hundred men just to get input. That was one of the big ones. We want to laugh. We want humor. We didn't get into a relationship to get bored. And if we can just keep that lightness, and you can even do it during conflict, just we're upset with each other, but that lightness that fits in there that says we can have some humor, some laughter in our relationship, it kind of oils the whole mechanism.
You have, in several points in here, you have another little section here, how to speak male. Why is that important?
Well, I think it's because we use it's cross-cultural communication, and it's because
so you have diversity within your own household.
There you go.
It is so true, and especially, I think about like romance, that men feel like schmucks in the romance department, and women want their men to be romantic, and the stereotype is that they're not. But for men, they watch what happens on TV and in the movies. They see the handsome leading men that say all the right things in all the right ways, and usually we're thinking, there is no way I can say it like that. But if he hands you the remote, just say, thanks, I love you too. That's his way of expressing it.
There you go. All right. Mike Bechtle, I wish he had come with instructions, The Woman's Guide to a Man's Brain. Mandy is going to place this right next to her Bible. It's going to be her second most important book that she has. Mike, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks. It's been a treat.
This is Coastal Daybreak here on the Talk Station.